I'm Christopher Schoenwald, and welcome to Life as a show intently focused on helping people find their professional pathway by exploring and unearthing the details of jobs from around the world. Before we get into today's episode, I just want to throw this out there. I have a channel over on YouTube, Life as a ... which basically hosts highlights from these audio conversations that I have with these great guests. They typically run 10 to 15 minutes, and they're there to kind of present a different vantage point. You know, for people that aren't into audio, aren't into podcasts, but are still looking for career advice, ideas, help, all that great stuff, send them over to YouTube. Like I said, Life as a ... And if you do get over there, I would love that like or subscribe. I mean, it's the best way to let that algorithm know that the content is worth sharing and should be out there. So anyway, I do thank you for letting me plug this a little bit, but I think it's about time to get into today's episode. You know, it could be argued that within a capitalistic society, that one of the most critical skills out there is that of sales. Whether you like it or not, we're all kind of engaged within the practice of it every day. We're constantly selling ourselves, our ideas, and our visions. So it kind of leads me to believe that occasional sales tutorials or even dives into sales strategy are of benefit, even if you're not involved directly in the selling of products or services. However, what if the latter is of interest to you? What if you are curious about formalized sales work? Well, I think you owe it to yourself to soak up as much wisdom as you can on the topic. And that's where my next guest comes in. He's a top global voice on B2B sales, Forbes contributor on the topic, and he's here all the way from Austria to break down some of his learnings for you. So let me more formally introduce him to you, and we can jump into this episode. Simon Severino is a LinkedIn top voice on sales leadership and sales prospecting. Self-identifying, and in his own words, as a shrink-turned CEO, he had to learn the importance of working on the business more than in it. And now he helps business owners supercharge sales and reclaim 14 hours per week through his trademarked Strategy Sprints method. Further, as author of Strategy Sprints and inventor of the Strategy Sprints method, Simon is also a YouTuber, TEDx speaker, Forbes contributor, triathlete, and has appeared on over 1,300 podcasts. And when he's not supercharging sales, you'll find him swimming, biking, running, and tricking his 3 kids into outdoor activities so they can't escape his annoying, shrinky questions. So with all of this noted, I'd like to welcome you to my conversation with Simon Severino. Yeah, so welcome to the program. How are you doing today, Simon?
Hey, Christopher. Hey, everyone. Happy to be here.
Yeah, really excited for this. I mean, we were just speaking off air. You'd mentioned that you're up to over 2,000 podcasts that you've been part of and been recorded on. And you're up to what, 3 or 4 a day at times now?
Yes, today it's even 5. You know what's funny? I have the most boring and the most exciting life at once. So all my friends, including my 3 kids and my wife, think that I'm the most boring person on the planet because every day, I just go for a run in the morning, I play with them, and then I go to my room and I come out that room after 8 hours. So what a boring life. What they don't know
Yeah.
is those 8 hours, I am in 25 countries. I get to interact with dozens of really, really cool people like you right now. And they have communities of thousands and of many thousands of people. So I find it's like being the Rolling Stones and being on tour every day. They see, yeah, Papa, yeah, continue dreaming.
I hear you. I hear you on all of that, though. I mean, I have these same conversations with my family as well. And the truth of it is you're constantly interacting with so many interesting folk and interesting people, and all these unique backgrounds, and hearing all these wonderful stories. So yeah, I'm with you. So speaking of which, I mean, and welcoming you onto this program, I'm quite keen to dive into all of this and to share, a little bit more about you to listeners of this program. So maybe we can jump into it all right now. I do have this first segment lined up. It's something called Coloring Wikipedia. And as my listeners know, it's a segment where I just read off a definition of something which relates to the guest. And the idea here is to get some different angles or perspectives on, on this term or on this concept. And surprise, surprise, I have you down here for sales. Okay. So let me just read off this Wikipedia definition, and then perhaps afterwards you can comment. Sound okay? All right, so here we go. Sales. Sales are activities related to selling or the number of goods sold in a given targeted time period. The delivery of a service for a cost is also considered a sale. Now, anyone with a functional grasp of English is going to understand what sales is. I mean, that's not the point here of trying to explain what sales is. The idea, as I'd mentioned earlier, is to hear these added perspectives from a professional such as yourself. So I'd love to hear your take or your added insights on sales itself.
This is a great exercise because it's totally wrong. And the fact that it's totally wrong shows you why sales is broken. Let's be honest. Who likes sales? Raise your hand. Who likes to be sold anything? Raise your hand. Who likes to hang out with salespeople? Raise your hand. And the reason is in that exact definition that it's all about selling. So, why should I meet somebody if the expectation is that they are going to push something onto me? My natural tendency is I meet somebody else. I'd rather meet nobody on that day than to meet somebody that wants to push something into my life, right? Come on.
Yeah.
I don't want to get pushed anything into my life. So that is exactly what is broken in the world. The last 40 years of sales have been mostly pushing information onto people and pushing features onto people. Hey, my course can give you more information on this topic. It's just $600.
Yeah.
Nobody needs that. Absolutely nobody. What's really frustrating is that it's still out there. It's still on Wikipedia. If I could rewrite that, I would say, okay, old sales was about selling. Modern sales is about buying, helping people make good buying decisions. We are all buyers. I buy stuff, you buy stuff. We need help.
Yeah.
When we buy something that's more expensive than $10,000, we need help from a salesperson. Why? Because I'm not doing this every day. I'm not buying a car every day. I have no clue about cars. No clue. I'm not into the cars business. I need something to ship 3 kids around. So I like some colors of cars, and that's it. That's all my knowledge about cars.
Yeah.
Red is better than blue.
Yeah.
That's it. So now I need somebody to help me take a good decision. 3 kids, tax efficiency, how long does it last? All this kind of stuff, right? And they are the expert. So if they are an expert, I want to talk to somebody who can help me buy, who can help me take the best decision. And maybe the best decision is that person telling me, hey, you should go Uber.
Yeah, right.
Because you are below 12,000 kilometers or below 12,000 miles per year. So it's cheaper to just take a cab all the time. So help me buy. That is my definition of sales. And this is what's broken in sales nowadays.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I mean, it would seem to me that sales for a lot of people represents like this split right down the middle of what you were speaking about. And then you have those other individuals that are still adhering to this old model. And, what divides the two, at least in my mind, is like integrity, right? Like what you were just speaking of, a salesman perhaps saying, well, maybe this isn't the best thing for you. And that builds trust, obviously, with a prospective customer, I would assume. Versus others that might know this information, but they're still going to go for the sale. They're still going to try to like twist things around and do whatever it takes. And that sort of creates this divide and this sort of like uncertain feeling towards the whole sales process. At least this is my, layman sort of perspective on it all. But
I think let's stop selling. Let's help people buy.
There you go.
And it's hard enough to grow a business in this day and age. Don't make it more complicated. Help people buy. And some of that will be your product or service. Now you have a much better situation out there. And the next thing is, some of our countries listening right now are maybe heading towards slower growth of their economy or maybe even negative growth phases of their economy. So now it's even more important. The buyer will be more cautious. They want even less of that pushy stuff. They want even more of being seen and heard and understood, you better become much more buyer-centric starting today. Start really, really listening. So for example, I get sales recordings every day, 5, 6 sales recordings from our clients. And the first thing is, if your talking time is below 30%, your win rate is 70%.
Mm.
If your talk time is above 60%, your win rate is around 10%. So the first thing to practice is being buyer-centric in the conversation. Ask powerful questions, then listen. We use an AI to see live how much we're talking. And as soon as I see I'm at 28%, 28.5%, I better shut up. And so I start thinking about questions instead
Mm.
of stories. Don't tell stories. Nobody needs stories. They have
Mm.
their own story. Ask good questions.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love this insight right out of the gate here. And this might be an opportune time to learn a little bit more about you and your business. I mean, certainly off the top, I did mention and I did introduce, very briefly some of your background and what you do, but maybe you could add to that and let listeners know a little bit more about you.
Yeah, I'm a sales coach. I get sales recordings, I get sales questions. Teams ask us to have a sprint coach. A sprint coach is somebody that I'm training to use the strategy sprints method in a cycle of 90 days. So we immerse ourselves for 90 days into those teams and help them fill pipeline and close the right client. So the right clients, it starts right there. If I ask you who's your right client, most people here will answer in a fuzzy way. They will talk for 3 minutes and then you don't know who the ideal client is.
Mm-hmm.
So first exercise that we do is defining ICP and anti-ICP, 5 levels deep. So ICP, your ideal client profile, is a person who has these characteristics in that region. They have these dreams, they have these fears, and are frustrated with this thing right now.
Mm-hmm.
5 levels. Now we have an ICP. For each level, also the opposite. So, okay, they are a CEO. So, anti-ICP is the HR executive. You will not talk to HR executives if your ideal client is the CEO.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happens now is that people still, during the week, spend time talking to the wrong people. And this is easy to change. So, that's the first focus. Who are you here to serve and what do you help them achieve? And then really simplify, strip away from the week. We use a tool called the Daily Flow. People can download it later. I can share where they can download it, where you map your week and you see, okay, this is how I'm spending my time. And then you can double check, am I spending it on the things that matter?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when you identify that, you can get rid of the rest, delegate, cut, outsource the rest.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I like these distinctions, and I think that's what they kind of represent to me, at least how I'm taking it all in here is like, I think people have this idea or this notion of like what a sale looks like in their mind, whether that's correct or whether it's not, is besides the point. They're going to achieve success based off of this model, and if they're not achieving success, sales can become this black box for people. But getting back to this point of distinctions of, like what you'd mentioned already of like, am I speaking too much right now? Am I asking powerful questions? Am I even speaking to the right people? These are all distinctions along the way that if you're, centered in on them in the correct manner, in a way that's going to deliver results, well, good things are going to happen. But if you're focusing in on the wrong things, you're probably not going to get the results. And that's kind of what I'm picking up here. And what you and your organization's all about is helping people and other companies find these sort of finer points to be able to find their own levels of success. Is that kind of an accurate way of summing it up?
Yes. First distinction, am I talking to the right people? Second distinction, am I talking in the right way to
Yeah.
them? Which is mainly listening, having a set of really strong questions and then listening. So, first part, we go through their calendar. Are you really hanging out with the right people? Second part, now when you hang out with them in Zoom, Teams, Google, wherever, what are you doing exactly? So, share their recording. And then what I see is they're telling the price too early. They're talking features, they're talking too much. They're not asking what happens if nothing happens, and kind of the really good questions that show that you are the expert.
Mm-hmm.
Because What's your chance in an online meeting to create trust and expertise? You have only one chance, and that chance is showing intimacy with their world, showing that you know you are immersed into their world. So with that car example, I don't buy cars, but to stay in that example, I would go to this car dealer. I just say I want a red car because I'm Italian. I like red, right? But no Ferrari because I have 3 kids, so I need something bigger.
I hear you.
And they would then start asking questions. Okay, how many miles do you
Yeah.
do you
Travel.
use it per week? Do you travel? And I go, oh, I didn't think about that. That is a powerful question in this example. So if people are listening and they are accountants or lawyers or consultants or trainers or coaches, what are your powerful questions? This is something that we create. We call it a sales playbook. You have powerful questions, 3 questions per the 8 stages of the sales call. A sales call has 8 distinct milestones. And you have to complete one before you go to the next, otherwise you will lose the deal. And so per milestone, I want you to have 3 very powerful questions that you enjoy asking. When you ask them, they go, whoa, I didn't think about that. Because what makes a good question? It's either you are learning something about yourself that you didn't know, or you're learning about something about your world that you didn't know, or you did know it, but you didn't know that it matters. So you're creating insights. That's the value. You are shedding some light on some region that was dark before.
I like that. You're
That's
adding
the value.
value, right? You're adding value, offering new ways of considering things, right? That hopefully you're going to improve their life, improve their organizational performance, so on and so forth. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And how do you create value in a conversation? The product is not there. So the car, let's say he has a huge Volkswagen Charan, and that would be the perfect car. You don't have that car in a sales call if you are a service-based business selling online. If you're a coach, you don't have the car. You can say, yeah, drive this, try this. The only thing that you have is the conversation itself. Will you create value by the questions that you ask and by the space that you create? Is it a safe space? Is it a space where we explore a lot of ground? Is it a space that where I go deeper and deeper into understanding myself and the world? That's a great space. This is something where people want to come for a second time.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's terrific insight right there. I would like to shift over into this other segment here, a day in the life. And, in terms of what you're involved in right now, I think you'd mentioned already that you're heavily involved in podcast recordings and speaking and giving advice and whatnot. But perhaps we could rewind a little bit when you were more heavily involved in the day-to-day operations of your organization. What would a typical day look like for you in this role of sales coaching?
So I started 22 years ago, and I was the product and I was the service, right? You have a sales problem, I fly to your city, we hang out in the Hilton for 3 days until we solved it, and then I fly back to my city. Now, that became a terrible life, and every Hilton looked the same, and I have zero interest in flying anyways. And I became a father, and I said, okay, I'm grounding myself. This is over. I'm not flying anywhere. We will do this online. Second, I'm firing myself from operations. I will now teach people how to do this. So I wrote the book, the Strategy Sprints book,
Yeah.
became a method. I'm certifying people now. It's a 60 days certification process, like a franchise. They're learning it and they're applying it in their life. Now I'm out of operations, so I got 50 hours back per week. How do I use these 50 hours? If you're wondering what happens after you retire from operations, well, the same thing. You will find something to feel. You will not hang out on the beach the whole day. That's not how entrepreneurs are wired. You will find the next thing on the next higher level. So, right now, I'm writing the next book. I am on multiple podcasts per day. I started a YouTube channel and I teach whatever I'm learning each week on that YouTube channel called Simon Severino. So, you will find the next level of things. I'm scaling in form of a franchise. I'm speaking on stages. So these are the things that I'm now able to do. And that's a typical day. I wake up 5 a.m., I go running, I make breakfast for the kids, and then I play with all three of them. We sing, dance, play chess, read
Yeah.
books, whatever is fun. Then I go to my little room here where for the next 8 hours, nobody sees me. And then when I come back, I cook or my wife's cooking, and then I play with the kids. And then it's fun time. Three little kids. So it's reading books, playing theater, destroying guitars. What do you do with small kids?
Exactly, exactly. Well, it sounds to me like you've designed your life in the way that, that you want to live it, right? And it sounds like that professionally speaking, you've been able to do so. I mean, obviously you put in a lot of hard work over the years to get to this point where you can design the life that you want to live. And I'd suspect that that's part of your offering to others.
Yesterday, a client asked me, Simon, what is your goal for this year?
Mm,
And I said, having fun.
I like
That's
that.
all?
Yeah.
I said, yeah, that's all.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that can mean a ton of things, right? So I like that. I'm sure there's several layers to all of that, but yeah. 100%. Well, maybe we could rewind even further here. I have this other segment, pathways, and I'd love to know a little bit more. I'm sure listeners would love to hear like how you made it to this point that we were just speaking of, that grind early on. Like what led you into sales and what led you into doing what you ended up doing and finding success in it?
I studied the wrong things.
Okay.
So I majored in philosophy and psychology, which made me then a graduate without a job.
That sounds familiar. I had a sociology degree, so it's not that different,
Yeah,
really.
then you know what I'm talking about. There is no
Exactly.
job for such people. So
Exactly. Yeah.
your only chance, you can be a cab driver or you can invent a
Yeah.
job. So I had to invent my job. And my path has been, I was lucky enough to be taken by one of the strategy advisories. They were just looking for the best grades, not for, I don't care what you majored in. I just want to see that you have the top grades.
Mm-hmm.
Because then I know that you're able to have structural thinking and structural problem solving. This is what we're looking for. The rest we will teach you guys. So that was the period, and that was the spirit. And I said, okay, cool, let's do it. And then in there, it was an El Dorado of learning. We were flying, on Monday to New York and on Thursday to Beijing and in between to Paris, and sitting with these boards and solving really big problems. Like, how do we beat our competitor with this product in that market? How do we invent a new product that's even more interesting for that market? Huge questions that nobody had an answer to. And I had to find a way to answer them. And I loved that. And I said yes to every single project. I said, who's coming to Paris? Me, 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 me. Who is coming to Shanghai? Me, 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 me. And so 4 years in a row, I just said me, 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 and I was in a plane. That's it. 4 years later, I came down from those planes and started asking myself, is this the life I want to live? And I realized, no. As a business, I think it's an amazing business. I want to do this a lot. But I want to find a way where there is also a life.
Striking that balance.
So I went on my own, kept doing exactly the same thing, but just on my own. So quite risky.
Mm-hmm.
I was becoming a father, so it was pretty risky.
Yeah.
But it felt like the right thing to do. And I trusted that at some point it would work. It worked pretty quickly.
Yeah. I'm guessing that you're integrating a lot of the learnings and systems and processes that were delivering success to you, early on. And perhaps you were reflecting on all of this throughout that journey to get it to the point where, well, okay, I'm going to go off on my own. I need to have a foundational structure to all of this. And is that kind of where the strategy sprints model evolved from, or these reflections on what was working and perhaps past failures, things that weren't going the way that you envisioned? Is that where all of that sort of came from?
The fun fact is we sit with these boards and we try to understand how to crush it in the market, how to enter a market, how to stay competitive in the market, how to take customers away from competitors. And all these questions to me were questions around buyer psychology. And I had studied psychology, so I had tools. I just didn't know that there is this specific thing, buyer psychology. So I started studying this buyer thing. What is buying? How do we buy? How do my friends buy? What do I buy? Why I don't buy?
Mm.
And so I became obsessed with this topic, and I realized that I had a tremendous toolbox from Sigmund Freud to the newest modern cognitive guys. There was a plethora of practice and knowledge and wisdom between the lines of all of these. Carl Gustav Jung, everybody had so much wisdom. And I had all these breadcrumbs and these tools. And so I applied them to the go-to-market topics. And I realized, hey, 90% of sales is psychology. Reviewing those sales calls, I was seeing the body language and when they disconnect and how the temperature between them is. That's psychology.
Mm-hmm.
And then how you enter a market is mainly marketing, how it's the story and how you position that story. That's again psychology.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was like, hey, I'm at home here. This is the thing. So if a psychologist gets a real job, then they are actually into marketing and sales.
There you go. There you go. I like that.
This is where I landed.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that psychology degree wasn't so bad after all.
In hindsight, yes, it was the perfect start.
Yeah. You know, in having this program going for 125, 126 episodes right now, one of the things that comes across loud and clear when I'm speaking with guests who have, achieved success and have consistently found it is this notion of zeroing in on certain things and this drive to learn more, having this existing base of knowledge, but not being satisfied with that. And it seems to me like that was something for you that, okay, you recognize I do have this basis, within psychology, the basic understanding of it, but I don't have the buying side of it. I don't have that element to it, clear within my mind. Okay, well, I need to sink myself into it. And I think the word that you used was an obsession, and you let that grow, and that sort of perhaps took you further, which, ultimately maybe played a fairly large role in achieving the success that you've had. Am I on to anything here? Does that sound like, the way things played out?
I don't know what satisfaction is. I've never been satisfied longer than 10 minutes in my life.
Yeah.
I saw, and I don't think any entrepreneur has ever been.
Fully, yeah.
I saw an interview with Jerry Seinfeld yesterday. He's now 70. He gets asked, hey, how are you? How do you feel? Are you happy? He says, I'm never happy. Never.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so grumpy all the time. I'm pissed about something. And they go, but you are so cheerful. And I say, yeah, because it's funny. But you really feel in this interview that he is actually most of the time not happy. I don't think it's specific Jerry Seinfeld. I think we all are dynamic creatures.
Mm-hmm.
We are sense makers, pathfinders, explorers, adventurers in this huge universe that makes zero sense. And we have to find out. This is why we are awake and alert and interested, and why it's so interesting, the game of life. And the game of business is one of the parts of it that is the most intense, because you have also this monetary energy, which makes it so real. And when you have exploration and reality together, that's the sweet spot. That's the magic. So I'm never satisfied. I always wonder what the heck is going on here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm always studying the next frontier, the newest stuff. Right now, I'm studying blockchain, I'm studying Web3, I'm studying AI. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Distributed work instead of centralized work. Fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly what I was alluding to there, was that sort of attitude and that sort of view of the world. And if you can kind of like capture that and sort of like package that up in such a way and build it into your life in the way that you frame things and the way you go about, interpreting the world around you, yeah, you can find success. I think that's a big part of it. And, I'm thankful for you for sharing that, because I think it's a great point for any listener to take home and to jot down that note. But speaking of which, I do want to step into this other segment of Q&A discovery. We can kind of continue this back and forth. I'd love to get your thoughts on a few common misconceptions relating to sales. And I was thinking we could do it, through a rapid fire sort of approach with some quick thoughts from you. And I jotted 3 down that I found to be, again, some fairly common misconceptions, at least my perception of sales. So the first one is sales represents an unstable career path. Well, what would you say to that?
There is a high fluctuation in sales. If you run a sales team, and I coach many people who run a sales team, the fluctuation is the highest in the sales team. So amount of people that join your team and go away is high. That makes this dynamic aspect. On the other side, there are also some sales teams that they are there since 30 years, but those are the worst teams. They're usually not the highest performers. So you have both in sales. In terms of a career, I don't know much about careers because I have left the enterprise world very quickly after like 4 years. It's not my world. What I'm immersed right now a lot is entrepreneurs, people who are creating their career. There is no career, so let's create a career. And these people, yes, they are highly dynamic. Yes, it doesn't look good in a CV, but also who cares about a CV anymore? The only thing that I care about, I get CVs every day, 10 CVs. We are hiring salespeople right now. I get CVs. I don't read them. I answer them. Make me a video. Make me a video. Tell me why we should talk. You want 15 minutes with me? Let me know why.
Yeah, I'm sure you can tell much more in those 15 minutes than what you can pick up on just on a CV, like you said. Yeah.
Absolutely. Most of them don't send a video, so you know already what's going on. Then some send a video that's totally irrelevant, or they tell me in the video about their CV. I don't care about their CV. And, you know, so you learn so much just by this process. So yeah, that's the career answer.
Okay. All right. This next one here. It takes a certain type of person to be successful in sales. What would you say to that?
Disagree, because in all the research about sales, you know what's funny? There isn't one type of behavior that makes a great salesperson. You can have extremely different people under the top performers in any team. You can have introverts, top performers. You can have extroverts, top performers. You can have people who are in the first row, top performers, second row, top performer. You can have analytical people, top performer, emotional people, top performer, geographies, gender. There is no pattern in what makes a great salesperson, except they sell more.
Just the facts, the cold hard facts. Yeah. You can either do it or you can't. Okay. Last one here. It doesn't matter what you sell. What would you say to that? Agree, disagree?
I hear that a lot, and I'm wondering if that's true.
Hmm.
I have seen people who sell extremely boring stuff, like, I don't know, a certain kind of food. I'm Italian, but I cannot even find passion to sell food. I can find passion to eat food or cook food, but selling food must be the most boring thing on the planet. I have seen people who find meaning and purpose in doing that because they say, it's not what I'm selling, it's the way I do it. I really care about those people. I'm kind, I'm available, I'm present. And I see those people getting out of the store and I get it. I say, it's right. It's not what you are selling. It's a boring thing that they can buy also on Amazon. But the way you do it lifts them up, inspires them. They want to come to you because you're a great person and you're creating a great space. So sometimes I see it and I go, yeah, you're right. The way you do it trumps what you do.
Hmm. Hmm.
In most of the cases, though, I would say, no, it matters what you are selling, because most of the things the world just doesn't need. So stop that. And some things we actually need. So do more of that.
I hear you. And another thing too that comes to mind is this notion of relationships, and like you're speaking about first off there, like people focusing on the craft and focusing on that relationship. Like that's a big part of what sales is, right? And connecting with people. And if you're focusing on that, perhaps more so than the product or service, you can be finding some degree of satisfaction in all of it. And that unto itself can motivate you to do a great job. So I can see that first side of what you're saying. And then also, how you laid it out the other way too. I mean, it certainly would depend, I guess, on the person, but it doesn't necessarily apply. It's not a cold, hard fast rule, I guess. Well, I have this other question here. In researching for this talk, I came to understand a few things about you and some of your beliefs, I guess, in what it takes to be successful in sales. And I'm already, picking up on that, and I'm sure listeners are as well. But there are three particular things here that I do want to share with listeners. One is that sales doesn't have to be this grind. You can cut down on the hours and still be quite successful. That's one thing. Another is systems and processes cannot be underestimated. And the last thing is selling is as much about this vibe and feeling that the seller is giving off compared to anything else. Those are three big, pillars of what you stand for. But perhaps you could fill listeners in on a little bit more about each of them.
Systems are very important, especially in tough times. So for example, right now, maybe 15, 16 of our clients have reported this week alone that their pipeline is weaker than usual and that their buyers are more cautious than usual because they are in countries that are afraid of possible slower economic growth or negative growth. So they go like, let me be more cautious here. So now their pipeline dries up, and what they're experiencing is, if you have systems, now in a sales slump month, you fall down to the level of your systems. If you have only goals, you don't raise to the level of your goals. Not in tough times. In tough times, you fall to the level of your systems. So let me give you an example. If I push a button here, you can see my daily systems. So these are my 6 daily habits. For the people watching this, they see my phone and they see there are 6 buttons on my phone. That's my daily habit. I click it. It's a non-negotiable sales activity. I have to do it. So one is make introductions. If I made at least 3 introductions today to people who should get to know each other, because what they are searching for and what the superpowers of the other are, they fit together. So if I did it 3 times, then I click it, I made introductions. Did I ask for referrals? Past clients, current clients, potential clients. Did I ask for referrals? Hey, you know what I'm doing right now? Who needs this? Can you introduce me? Did I create content and share content on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on X? Click. And did I follow up in the CRM system? So did I call past clients, current clients, potential clients today? And then the other 2 are around workouts, endurance workout and strength workout. Why? Because I'm 44, I need to stay fit. But also, if you come low energy to a sales conversation, people don't want to buy from low energy people. People want to buy from happy people. So people who are centered and are, thriving in their body, in their emotions. So these are 6 daily habits. And that is one of the 274 systems of the strategy sprints method. We call it the daily habit. There's the weekly habit, the monthly habit. But as an example, if you have now 10 people, 3 of them are doing this every day. 7 don't have a system, a daily system. And now I ask you, in 3 years, who will be successful in sales? What do you think?
Yeah, exactly. There's a certain dedication that is connected to what systems means and what it represents, right? And what you were speaking about earlier, it's something that can kind of guide you through, obviously, the high times, but certainly the low times. And then that's the time that you really want to be able to, to keep afloat, essentially, right?
That's why systems matter, especially in bad times, in tough times. So how do we do it with our clients? We ask the first question, who are you here to serve? They define it. Then the next question is, what do you solve for them? They define their offer. We help them find the right price. And now they're ready to go. So now the question is, okay, where do I find these people? Where do they hang out? So if you're in B2B, you should go LinkedIn. If you are in B2C, maybe you want to go YouTube, X. You pick your channel. And then if you're an extrovert or an introvert, you can find your strategy, and we help you refine your strategy and show up in that way every day. You can be very successful with 3-4 hours per day if you are aligned with these three things, who I'm here to serve, what I can solve for them, what's coming for them, how I can help them be ready for what's coming for them, and hanging out with them every day where they hang out. So my people are on LinkedIn. I am mainly on LinkedIn. And every day you will find a post from me on LinkedIn. And you will find a whole community around it. It's like a piazza. We discuss every post, and there is pros and cons and examples and debates. This is marketing. This is marketing. Wherever you go on social media, you see a buzz around the topics that I stand for, and people debating and people sharing examples and learning and growing together. This is marketing. And the only thing that you have to take care of is right people, right message for you, right price, and focus on one channel where they actually hang out. I see so many people, they're selling to B2B, but they're posting all the time on Instagram. That's not aligned.
It doesn't make sense, right? Yeah, yeah. It comes down to that strategic thought, right? And that efficiency, right? I guess coming back to your systems and knowing, what is delivering results and reviewing and understanding some of these key components. Again, distinctions. We've spoken about this already earlier. I think it's a key point for anyone who's interested in being successful within this field. I mean, you're certainly the expert, and I think that's what's been coming across here. And I'm just paraphrasing. I've got this question here, like, what advice do you give to individuals who are involved in sales that are experiencing some struggles? Like, they have their systems down, that they're doing many of the things, perhaps not everything that we've been speaking about thus far, but things just aren't going their way. And, sales can be tough like that at times. And, there's always that thought people get of, maybe I should just throw in the towel. I should just give up. This isn't for me. Like, how would you talk somebody off the ledge, that professional ledge of doing sales? What would you say to somebody like that?
Prioritize for play. So gamify the heck out of it. Because the biggest risk is quitting. Oh, I got 10 rejections. I didn't sell anything. Let me quit.
Yeah.
That's the biggest risk. So if you want to tackle that, gamify the heck out of it. What is something that is super fun? Playing sports with friends, playing video games with friends. Why is that fun? Because there is a clear quest. There is a clear real-time dashboard of who's winning, who's losing. And there are clear resources that you can use, you can share. And you're always seeing who's winning, who's losing in real time. There is no confusion. The quest, us, you know who's on the team, you know where the resources are, you know who's running where. That's why it's fun, and people stay up late to play games, because there is a quest, there is a team, and there is a real-time progress dashboard. So this is what you need to build. We help our clients build the pipeline meeting at the beginning of the week, the deal review meeting at the end of the week, and they are highly gamified. So it starts with the individual task. I showed you mine. That's not a spreadsheet. These are colorful buttons. If people are just listening to it, I am showing my phone, and on my phone, it's not a spreadsheet with some numbers or phone numbers of clients. It's also not a boring CRM that I'm looking at. I'm looking at big yellow buttons on an orange background, and when I click them, they make sounds. I'm treating myself like a 14 years old here. And why? Because I want to gamify the heck out of my day. So it must be fun to do sales and marketing. Otherwise, you won't do it very long. So make it fun. The daily activities, make them fun. Whatever is fun for you, optimize for that. Prioritize for play. Next thing is our sales team. We have a real-time dashboard, like a leaderboard. So there is my name and there is a number. Every week there is a number. Right? And those numbers, we want those numbers to go up. Oh my God, Lou just passed Simon. Oh, I'm coming for you, Lou. And so in our Slack group, it's super infantile. Is, hey, Michelle is coming for you, Lou. And no, Simon has got the lead again. So it's fun. And there is always an element of competition in sales teams. So use that, enjoy that. There's always a leaderboard. Salespeople love that. They're like athletes. They want to see their score, their rank. And well, use it, enjoy it. You rank yourself all the time against everything if you like it. Whatever gives you energy, right? Write the processes down in a very simple way. I have the cookbook. This is our processes, the marketing processes, the sales processes, operations. Very simple. So simple. You click it, it's 5 sentences in there. You know how we are doing marketing. You know how are we doing sales. If you keep it simple and colorful, that's also gamification. The opposite is, oh, let me check. Where are the processes? There is somewhere the Google Doc. Let me find the link. Oh, I can't find the link. Can you send me the link? Oh, this is the old version.
Yeah,
You start like
exactly.
that, it's
Yeah.
game over.
Yeah, you're putting yourself to sleep when you're getting involved in it in that way. But yeah, I like how you've presented it there, and it's like this massive reframe on the entire process where you can, make it enjoyable. And perhaps as well, as I was listening there, there's some people that maybe aren't necessarily into competition. That's fine. You can still find ways of gamifying it in a way that's going to be pleasing for you. Setting up your own self rewards, like, okay, if I achieve X, then I can do this, or I'm going to reward myself in this way. And you pair it up with things that you derive satisfaction from. So yeah, I like that. I think it helps people sort of step outside of the process of the work itself and finding some way of enjoying it and challenging themselves in a different way. I think that's terrific insight there.
And if you don't like competition, maybe you shouldn't start a business because growing a business is a very competitive thing.
There you go. Good point. Good point. Well, I do have this other question here, and we've been, going at a fairly nice pace here throughout this conversation. And I want to step into the future here through a crystal ball segment. And, as the name implies, we're looking towards the future, trends, predictions, so on and so forth. And as we started this conversation, I did pick up on something when you were speaking about when you're selling to somebody and you're actually using AI and you can see in real time, like the amount of talk time that you have versus the amount of time that you're listening. Now, that tool sounds incredibly helpful. And I guess that's a modern usage of an emerging technology such as AI. But maybe you could share with listeners, a few more tools or different things that you're finding, helpful to you in your efforts or your organization's efforts.
Yeah. My benchmark is Jarvis and Iron Man. Iron Man is in action, needs to do stuff, doesn't have time, to sit down, read a book. In that moment, he say, Jarvis, what should I do? And Jarvis is there in real time. Oh, give me a second. I'm going to analyze this. Oh, do this. This is what entrepreneurs need. They need things that work in real time without stopping them from the action they're involved in. So what we're looking for, and if they're out there, we use them. If they're not out there, we build them, are all these little things that can help an entrepreneur take decisions in real time. So for example, when we coach them, they don't have to log in anywhere. It's on their phone. It's on their phone. They tag, hey, sprint coach, should I do this or that? And they get immediate response. And the sprint coach is saying, okay, make a screenshot of the emails that you're sending. And then they get a screenshot and they say, oh, change the subject line. It has 6 words. 6 words is too much. You want 3 words. Try these 3 words. You have 3 call to actions down there. You want 1 call to action. Try this. Then they send the email. Half an hour later, they can already, on their phone, see if the email worked or not and review.
Yeah.
So this is what we're looking for. Everything that helps be in real time instead of adding friction. It's just integrating into their life seamlessly. Those are the things that we use. And they're changing every couple of weeks.
Yeah, I was about to say, you must be loving the era that we're living in right now, especially with AI. I mean, that tool unto itself feels like it's constantly in this rapid state of flux, expanding its usage capabilities and new tools, sort of like stemming from the original. Yeah, you must be in heaven when it comes to that.
I am in heaven. I got a second youth. I'm 44, and I feel like I got my 20s for the second time.
Yeah.
Because AI and blockchain, that's a gift. It's another internet happening, right now. And for the first internet, I was a little bit young. I was 20 when the internet came up, and I couldn't totally use that or leverage that.
Mm-hmm.
But this internet here that's coming right now with blockchain and AI, I can immediately plug in. And so one example, in the sales call, our client, they have a little Jarvis on the side that we've built for them with AI. It's showing their 8 steps. So the yellow 8 steps here, those are the 8 steps of closing the deal. And those 8 steps are live. So they're concentrating on the conversation. And this thing is showing them, oh, wait a moment, you are skipping this, you are doing this too early. Oh, you've checked that off. It checks off. So they don't have to do anything. It documents the whole conversation. It shows them red flags. Oh, be careful, this, use this, don't do that. During the conversation, it's telling them their talk time. And then when the conversation is over, they have to document 0 manually into the CRM, because you know how painful it is. You just talk to somebody. Before you talk to the next person, oh, I need to document now for 3 minutes. That's terrible. So this AI documents now for them into their CRM. It's done. You can move on to the next thing. It's documented for you. Plus, it makes a proposal for a follow-up email. And this email is better than anything that I could ever write, because it's using the exact words that the buyer has been using. And AI is better with language than we are. It's a language model. Those are large language models. They can do 2 things, language and patterns. So they are the absolute psychologists, master psychologists, because language and patterns, I mean, that's the dream of Siggy Freud.
Right. Yeah.
So they're really good at it. And that follow-up email, I couldn't do a better one. So this is an example how we are using AI right now for the sales conversation, and to be the Jarvis to the Ironmans out there and Iron Women's out there. So that's one example from current life.
Yeah, it's exciting times. Every now and then on these conversations, like I get these feelings or these moments of like, right now, right in this very moment, we are living in the future, if you know what I mean. Back in the day, you're always kind of like, well, off in the future when this is possible, Like every single day, it feels like it's almost hard to believe that we're here right now. Like what you were just describing of if you're in a sales call and you have in the corner of your screen these different little flags or notifications like, oh, you're speaking too much, or you're skipping a step here. Like that's unbelievable. And also this notion of the efficiency that some of these AI-based tools are bringing to the sales process. It's exciting, no doubt. But can't believe that we're nearly approaching an hour here, Simon. It feels like we just got started. And to me, that's always a mark of a good conversation, and might be a nice point to draw this to a close. But I can't thank you enough for all that you've shared today. I know listeners are absolutely going to love this. So thanks again.
They can grab a ton of the things we discussed for free. They're open source on strategysprints.com. Also, if they want to go deeper, they can grab the book, Strategy Sprints, on Amazon. And if they want to talk to us, strategysprints.com, jump on our calendar. Happy to talk.
Excellent. Well, I'm definitely going to have all of those links in the show notes for listeners. And thanks again for joining the program. Now, for those interested in learning more about Simon and his work, you can do so via his company website. You can also find him on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. And for reference, all this information, including the links, will be in the show notes. And hey, if you like today's show, please be sure to tell a friend and share. To show further support, you can always rate, review, and subscribe wherever you access those podcasts. And lastly, head on over to YouTube. As I mentioned off the top, I do have that channel over there which hosts highlights from the main audio recordings. And I would absolutely love a like or subscribe if you happen to make your way over there. And finally, don't forget to join us on the next episode of Life as a, where we'll continue to explore and unearth the details of professions and the people behind them. I'm your host, Christopher Schoenwald. Until next time, stay curious about life and living.